Right
presentation
now,
view.
I'm seeing Teams chat or Teams screen here.
Okay, sorry.
There you go. I can see your screen now. The
Uh,
PowerPoint.
that's great. Okay, so I will start now. Hello everyone. Welcome to the ProDev Power Platform Saturday today. A very good morning, afternoon, and evening based on your location. I will try my level best to make the session more interactive and more alive. So please bear with me for the next 40 to 45 minutes. I hope by the end of your previous 50 minutes, you will be confident enough to build, use, implement, and secure logic apps. A second. For your like customer or for your own organization in more prominent way. And if someone is moving mouse, I have control. Okay, never mind. And sorry, I would need to repeat it again. Okay, there is some problem. Let me just reshare my screen. Someone is
Sure.
having control.
Okay.
Just give me a second. I'm sharing my screen again. Let me know once it is visible.
There you go. I can see it.
Okay. So I hope by the end of your previous 50 minutes, you will be confident enough to build, use, implement, and secure your logic apps for your customers, for yourself, or for your organization in more prominent way. I think there is some issue. Someone is handling my slide.
I believe we just have you as a presenter.
Okay, let me just check it then back.
Sure.
Do you want to start it again?
Maybe just give it a quick start again. I guess there must be some automation on your slides if you
I
can check
checked it.
that.
I checked it already. It's not there. Um, Let me just recheck it again.
Okay.
Okay, let me check now. I just rechecked it. So I would like to start it again then, because I just break my continuity. Sorry for that.
No, no problem. Go ahead.
So hello everyone. Welcome to the ProDev Power Platform Saturdays today. A very good morning, afternoon, and evening based on your location. I will try my level best to make the session interactive and alive. So please bear with me for the next 40 to 45 minutes now. I hope by the end of your basis 50 minutes, you will be confident enough to build, use, implement, and secure Azure Logic app for your customers or for your own organization in more prominent way to get the best return of your investment. If your Logic app uses a request-based trigger, which receive incoming calls or the requests such as a request or webhook triggers. You can limit the access to that only the authorized clients can call your logic apps. So this session will be useful to plan and execute security implementation in your logic apps endpoints. So I would like to briefly introduce about myself. So then I will start my agenda for the session. My name is Ambesh Singh, currently working with the KPMG Deutschland as a Dynamic 365 architect and a technical manager within Microsoft practice. Prior that, I worked with the Pearson VUE and the EA Games, and mostly in my career, I worked for the Microsoft in different product groups, global consulting, and deliveries. So I'm also a 365 Saturdays community ambassador. So let's see the high level of agenda for today. I will do my best to cover as much as from the topic mentioned here, and as well as topic from um, outside of the list. So we will cover a brief about Azure Logic App ecosystem, how to implement security layers, bonus tips from my learning in Azure Logic App implementation, and implementation journey, and so on. So followed by the Q&A. So let's start. Let's start with what is Azure Logic App. So basically, it's a cloud service that help you to schedule, automate, and orchestrate tasks, business processes, and the workflows when you need to integrate apps, like apps, data systems, and the service across enterprise or organizations. So the next question is why? So you don't need to worry about the building, hosting, scaling, managing, maintaining, or the monitoring of your Logic apps. So Logic app handles this all the concerns for you. Plus, you pay only what you use based on your consumption model. And the more important thing, like how Logic app works. So every Logic app works with the start with a trigger, which fires when a specific event happens or when new available data meets with the specific criteria, what we mentioned, to trigger the Logic app. So we will see in more detail in the coming slides or the demos as well. And the most important thing, where to start. So we can build the Logic apps visually with the Logic app designers, which is available in Logic like Azure portals through your web browsers and in Visual Studio as well. So honestly, I haven't used Visual Studio to build Azure Logic app, but you can do just in case if you need it. For me, building apps over the Logic app, like building app or Logic app designer is much more easier, convenient, and cleaner. So basically, we have the two pricing model, which is really important to know. So one is consumption pricing model that run. Okay. So consumption pricing model basically run in the public or the global Azure Logic App services. You pay only what you use. In your Logic apps, each step in an action and Azure Logic App meters for all of your actions that run on the Logic apps. The second important is a fixed pricing model. It's a integrated service environment like ISE, and it provide a private as isolated and a dedicated way for you to create and run Logic apps that can necessarily access your resources in Azure Virtual Network. For the Logic apps that run inside the ISE, you need to pay the fixed monthly price, and for sure it's a bit costlier than the consumption pricing model. So important thing what we need to consider here that actions that get skipped due to the unmet condition is not metered or not charged. At the same way, like action that don't run because Logic app stop before finishing it, maybe because of exception or some conditions that the remaining will also not get charged for that. But the actions that run inside like your loops or some conditions, then you need to pay the number of times the loop runs. Like an example, if I have a 5 actions in for loop and it run 10 times, then you need to pay the charges for 50 action runs. So that important point need to be considered. Um, Now, one more important thing, like we need to know something about the triggers. I would quickly move to the system as well. Okay. So we will see in the system, but basically, like we have a three kind of triggers, like a pooling, webhook, and the recurrence. Let me just quickly show in the browser like how it's look like. So what I will do, like basically, you need to just go to the portal.azure.com. That would be the your starting point. I hope my browser is visible to you. Yash, please confirm.
Yes, I can see your browser.
Okay, thank you. So this is somehow the landing page. I preferably used to go to the resource group because it's more logical container, and I know how to how to monitor all of the resources available in my resource groups. And then you have a plus icon there, so you just click on add. Here you just need to search for the logic apps. And here you go. So here you just got a button to create to create it. You just need to click on that. There are some useful documentation available on the home page, so you may go through for that. And after that, like you need to just select your subscription, which is available for you, your resource group. So you can just opt any of the resource group which is available for within your subscriptions. You need to give the name for your logic app. You need to select the region and or the ISA, like it's depend what kind of pricing model do you have like available with you. So and just like a demo 365 Saturdays. So suppose I just give the name, I quickly can go and create it. So you can review and create it. For now, I will not create it. I don't want to just create a logic app and just meter the connection. So I would quickly use some of the existing one. I would quickly go on my resource group and I can just opt a blank logic app which was already get created. So an example, like the moment you will click on the create, it will take around 20 to 50 seconds or maybe sometimes around a minute. And it will just throw you to the landing page of the Azure Logic app. And from your logic app, then you can actually from here you just create your blank template or something like that. It's pretty easy. So this is somehow available here. Like you have some of the common triggers which is available there. So you have tons of the triggers, tons of the templates and the connectors. You can opt any of the predefined one, or you just go for the blank logic app template. So example, I just went to the blank logic app template. Then you need to either start with your connectors or the trigger. I would like to start with the common data service. Please note it down that with the recent changes in the with the Power Platforms and the Azure as well, like there you will even get the Dynamic 365 connectors. Please don't use that one. It's obsolete now, and I don't know till what point Microsoft will provide the support for that one. So always go for the common data services. So here you just need to choose the trigger points, like when the record is created, deleted, or updated. An example like this, I just choose when the record is maybe deleted. And after that, it will ask you to sign in. You need to sign in here, connect with your organization, and then select your tenant, which instance you actually need to trigger this. That is the first step, I would say, to start with your logic app. And then later on you can just click on the new steps, and then like an example, after connecting this and after capturing the triggers, you need to store and some values in a variable. So you just search for the variable, an example here, and initialize variable. So you just give a name for the variable, like maybe username, something like that. The type of the variable, you have some these predefined type of variables available there. Apart from that, you can't choose another one. So you need to just find out some of the appropriate variable data type between them, and then you need to just give the value from either you just go with the dynamic value or you you just put some expression, or you can just give the hard code value. Anything is working and it will be fine. So this second step is also an action, and this all the blocks is a kind of the actions here, and Logic App charge for this one. So if the action will be executed, I will show you how it look like. Then you need to pay for that one. If it is not executed or skipped due to any reason, you don't need to pay for that one. So that is somehow the important things which we should aware about that one. So for now, I will just show you some of the top menu here, or top toolbars. So you can save it, you can discard it, you can run it immediately based on your trigger condition. Currently, I'm on the designer view, so that's why the designer view is faded away. I can go to the code view as well. So the moment you can click on the code, you will get the complete JSON object for that. If you have some parameters, you can define it here. Then you have a template. You can just go and see all of the available connectors there. And a second, and then you can just browse the help topic from here. So anything is fine for you. So this is somehow the toolbar available with you. I will quickly go with some of the existing, which has already been like deployed up or running. So an example, just let quickly check this one. So here you can see after saving this, if you will go to the overview tab, then you will see the basic information like what are your resource group, your location, your subscription ID. If it is integrated, like connected with the integrated account, it will show you there. It shows some of the basic history like last 24 hours run, like how many successful and the fails. It shows the status, so you can enable or disable it. And it shows the complete actions and the trigger point. So I have one trigger point and the three actions available with me in my particular Logic app. So in that case, I can quickly just have a look for that one, that, okay, this is the available triggers and actions counts with me. Um, Here there are a few important things. You can export, you can clone it. I will just quickly come later on as well. You can disable your Logic apps from there, as well as you can delete it. And then you have a left menus here, like the basic structure, like you have some overview, something related with your diagnosis tags, IAM activity logs. You have some developer tools, you have some settings, you have monitoring block here, and then at last, if you need to just raise a support ticket or something, then you can opt for that one. So this is somehow the structure of the Logic app. And as I told you, like regarding the triggers, so basically we have three type of triggers available in the Logic app. I could quickly show you. Just a second. Let me just show you my slide back. Okay. So as I told, like we have a pooling trigger, like it pools the record for some time. An example, the example I have shown you, it's a pooling trigger when the record is created or deleted. So you can give a pool from 1 second to, I think, 500 days, and it can pool in between that one. So example, you general by default, it should be 3 minutes. And so it will collect all the data in for the 3 minutes, and then it will execute together. And if you have the 5 records available, which is matching in the matching condition, it will create a 5 instance internally. So you don't need to bother about that one. The second is the webhook trigger. So it's also important, like the HTTP triggers or something, like if you need to call your Logic up outside of environment, and especially it work for the integration purpose in the services world. So suppose there is a company who need to consume my APIs, the Logic app APIs, then like webhook is one of the example for that one. So I can just create a HTTP trigger based Logic app, and I can just pass my Logic app URL with them, and they can just call it as a REST service. The third and important one is again the recurrence trigger. So it's basically the scheduler. Your Logic app runs on every 1 day, 24, every night or a specific time, 1 month, 1 year. So it's basically like it go in a periodically manners. Example, like if you need to calculate the salary for your employees, so it will run on 25th of every month, and it will calculate and just transfer the salary or some salary PDFs to the users, something like that. So this kind of scenarios we can use it here. Now go to the next slide, and basically this is somehow more important. So logic apps basically like they are great, but exposing them, okay, exposing them as a public available HTTP service is clearly far from the perfect. So basically, I will show how to solve the challenges by using inbuilt offering or API management services, which can be used to secure Logic Apps HTTP endpoints with the OCP APIM subscription keys or some other ways. So let's see that. So the first thing is like what are the things are available for me. So I have the availability of the shared access signatures, IP restrictions, access control, IAM, and the API management. And apart from that, like this is somehow which is already available there. But again, I would quickly just jump back to my browser. I would like to show some more things like how we can secure our logic app in a more manual process, like by your coding stuff or by your tricks. So there are few things which you need to consider. The most important thing is like you need to store any of your credentials and the important data in the Azure keyword. So please don't store it in a variable or directly in your Logic app. It can be easily hacked or it can be easily viewed. So always store anything important or secure in a Azure keywords. Fetch it from there and directly used in the parameters. Even don't store in a variable. The next important thing, like all there's an option for every action, and I can show you very quickly that too. So an example, I have this Logic app, and if I can just open this, I cannot see the content of this because of my security configuration. And this is really important. If you really don't want to just debug it, and it's like that what is the parameter coming, and especially it work when you deal with some HTTP contents, or when you just using some of the credentials in that, then always enable the security inputs and the output. How you can do this, I can show you very quickly. So basically, you just need to go to your Logic app, add it, and here you will get an option. So you go to the setting, and there you will get the two options, so secure input and the secure output. So if you think that okay, only my input is important, you can secure the inputs only, or if you think whatever the output is coming from those like whatever the response are coming, you actually want to um, secure those things, you can actually secure outputs in that case. So this is really important, like you need to consider in terms of the security implementation. The next thing is what I did it actually, because an example, whenever you see your Logic app, just see an example here. So if anybody can come here, they just copy it, or like it can be even traced over the network as well. So they just go and they just see. So I have complete values here. And if this can be passed to anyone, or if this can be breached to anyone, they can use it and they can write a console application or something that they keep hitting my Logic app. Definitely, there are some Microsoft analytical and like thread implementations, thread safety implementations are already there. They will track it out, but maybe it's too late. By the time you already have your garbage data or something had been breached, if it is a read HTTP based triggers, like if it is reading something from your environment. So ideally, we don't need to rely on the simply this URLs. And if you can see in this URL, there's a SIG. I will explain this later on also, but there's a SIG key, like the signature key. This you can change it, and you should change it very frequently. But the important thing is that like this passed as a query string parameter, and which is actually I don't prefer to pass any security related stuff in a query string parameter for sure. Like maybe class 10th student can easily just open the network tracer and they can breach it. It don't need a like a kind of the rocket science to just breach anything from the query string. So what I did it, I just created a I just created passed the auth key from the header, and I'm just reading it here. So if my auth key is equal to some of my secret keys, then just proceed it. Otherwise, just respond with the error. So how it's work, let me quickly show you something. So an example, this one, I'm here passing auth key as a secret one, not a secret. And the moment I will execute this, I will get a response that, okay, my logic app response is unauthorized, validate the auth keys or something like that. So if I just pass proper auth key here, then probably I will get a message here. So this is somehow you can do it by your own without using the API management services. I would not say don't use that, because it's not only the keys you are passing it from the API management services. API management services is together a vast topic. A lot of stuffs are there, but if you're just using and concerned about the keys, you can actually use this key. So you don't need to pay the charges for the API, like using the to use the API management services. So this is somehow really important. And then let me quickly go back to the slide here. And yes, so I already talked to you about the shared access key, like the SIG. So it can be easily viewed, and it's the least prominent option is available for me. Like if you don't have anything, you just keep changing your SIG's keys. How you can do this, that also I can quickly show you. So you can go to any of your like any in the Logic app, and there is an option for access keys. On the left pane, you go there, select the primary key. So primary key is for the SAS key or the like the signature key, and you can regenerate access key from there. The moment you will regenerate the access key from here, uh, the access like the SIG key will be regenerated, and the older one will not be accepted by the system or by the Azure. So this is somehow, if you don't have any like a security measures, you should frequently update that one. So if even someone have trapped it, they like their request will be invalid later on. So this is somehow is one of the aspect, and I'm not very good fan of that one, because again, like even if you change it, it can be easily hacked and it can create a problem in future. The second important aspect here is access control. Basically, so you have an access control IAM management, the complete service. Like you can assign a role, you can deny assignment, and you can just check what all the roles available there. But the important aspect here, which you need to note it, like this IAM stuff will work only for the internal users, like who have the access for the Azure. So suppose you have a big department and you are kind of like an admin, and for some specific payroll related stuff you want, okay, only my finance team developers can see those logic apps, you can just create your access, like you can set up your access control management here and you can assign it there. But again, like I would say it's more for the internal, and that is probably like what I'm not much worried about this. So I'm much worried like if it can be just accessed by the outside of our ecosystem. So let's go to the third option, and this is somehow um, important, like in terms of the implementation. So you can actually restrict the IP. So an example, suppose you have an access, you know that, okay, just a second, let me just quickly go to the browser. So if you can go to your workflow setting, and here you will get an option to like you can just allow inbound IP addresses. So there is an option you can just go with the any IP, and by default any IP is selected. So it means any IP can access this URLs. So ideally, like you should just move to the specific IP ranges. You need to give the IP ranges which is gonna access, and this is somehow more logical, because most of the time, like if you just give your REST APIs, and if it is not getting used by the JavaScript or the AJAX, like from the customers browsers, and if it is getting used by some of the different servers who integrate with your environments, then they should have an static IP. So you can ask for their IPs and you can configure it here. And after that, like it cannot be accessed from any other part of the world. So just let's quickly check it, like how it's work. So suppose I have one IP configured for this one, and so there should be some of the IP available there. What I'm gonna do now, I'm just gonna delete this and just see how it's work. So I have deleted this, and then I should be able to, I'm sorry, I need to save it before. So you can see here, like my client IP address is not allowed to caller IP address ranges, like it's not allowed in short. So that is the thing, like in that case, nobody can access it. But just for the demo purpose, like if I just probably push it back, so you can just give it here, your IP ranges, and if it is here, you can save it. Now it will work. It should work again. And something like that, you got a response back. So this things you can actually trick it. The another important aspect is you can call your logic app from the other logic apps. Like it is pretty much possible. And in that case, just have a look for that one. So I just opt for only from other logic apps. And again, I did saved it. And what I will do now, I will just rerun it again. And this time it should give me the failure. So what I did it, I just called this Azure Logic app from the other Logic app here as a child, and I just passed the stuff here. So let me just quickly go there, copy this from here, go to my SOAP UI, create a new, and try to check that one. Let me see if it is post or get. Okay. And here you go. So if you can see here, like I just trigger it. So maybe you should see some of the conditions. So I just trigger it on 10:34 minute ago. And basically I'm calling this particular logic app from outside of the world. And the another logic app which I just allowed for to call it from other logic app from this particular logic app as a child logic app, and now it's allowing me. So there might be some of the condition, like you just created your usable component across your logic app, but you need to call in the specific like a kind of the main logic app. So in that case, you can just go and opt for those options only, those options also. So something like that. So yeah, let's go and see what next. And now we have an API management, which is probably my favorite topic here. So I'm not going to cover the complete API management, but I will just give a touch points that, okay, how it's work. So what I did, I just created the API, like I opted for the API management service. I created a demo one there. And here, if you can see, after saving your app there, you will get a public static IPs address there. So I copied it from here and I just push it to my Logic app. So in that case, the first problem is like if I have, it can be accessed only via some of the static IPs is solved. Now look back to the second one. So what I did, I just need to go to my APIs. How you can create it, you can just select the Logic app here and then you can configure it. So I have already configured one of the Logic app here. And here you can see, like you can just go and see in the settings, like you can just configure a lot of stuff here. Like it's not only related with the OCP API and subscription keys, but you can just implement the OAuth 2.0 OpenID Connect, and there are a lot of stuffs like you can monitor it and do a lot of stuffs from the API. Like it's a complete package for you. If you need to test it, you can just go to test here, and I would just see if it will work. And ideally it should fail now because it expects the parameter. I just pass the parameter. Now just see. So it gave me the response. So what I did, I'm now just calling my API URLs, but I'm not calling the Azure Logic app URL directly, and it get accessed from there. So just an example, if you can see it from the SOAP UI. So example here. So if you can see here, like my endpoint is basically not a Logic app endpoints. Okay. second. This one, let me see if I have this, or let me just quickly create one more. So I will just quickly create on the SOAP UI and I will show you. But before that, I would like to proceed with some other options. So you have a revision. So suppose you are going with the different versions for that, and it is really easy to maintain it here. You actually don't need to change your Logic App URL every time. So it's also important, like suppose you already gave your endpoints to the customer and you just come up with the new versions. Maybe you moved from one environment to other or whatsoever reason, because the moment you will change your Logic app from one to another, it will be regenerated. Like you will get the regenerated URL, and then in every system you need to configure it back. So this is the easiest way. Like you can just keep adding the revisions here and just keep updating the URLs there. You can get the complete logs here. Like if you updated something, you can just get it exposed here. So there is one more important thing on here. Like you can get a developer portal here. So I just quickly opened the developer portal. And what I did, I'm just trying to check it from here. So I passed few of the basic information which was required, like a case ID. This is really important, like OCP APIM subscription key, which is provided by the API management. And if with the combination of this, I just triggered this URL. So just try to just check it. So I just triggered this URL, and the moment I click send, I should get a response. And here I just got a response with the message that, okay, my API, this is stuff are working. So this is one of the options. And if you can, if you want to just get a test version from there. So example, you can just get this URL from here. And in the same way, like you were passing it here, if you can see here. So it's or you can just copy it from here. Either way is fine because they both are same. I just quickly went to my SOAP UI, created a new REST request, and just see how it's work. And I haven't passed the OCP subscription key yet. And just let's see which type of this. So, okay, just try to execute. I should get an error firstly. 404 resource not found. Let's see with the post. And now it's access denied due to missing subscription key, and make sure I'm passing the subscription key for that. So I quickly go to the header, and I would quickly just copy and paste it from here. And now I will push the values from here. Let's send it. And I got the message from there, like from my Logic app. So this is somehow its work. And now quickly go to the next point. And it is basically like the bonus tips and the tricks from my learning, whatever I have just learned. So I would like to just focus on deleting and disabling Logic app, like how does it make sense? So as I told earlier, like you will get two options there on the top. Delete and disable. When I just gave you the walkthrough, I quickly explained about this. So basically disable will actually stop your workflows or the Logic app to execute it for the moment you are not gonna enable it back. And deleting it, it will permanently delete it as name suggested, and you cannot roll back. When we should go for the delete and when we should go for the disable. So suppose you have some Logic app which is not gonna use in future, I would always emphasize to delete it. Don't keep it there because still you have the connections alive there, and the moment you will enable it back, if something got triggered in those duration, it will execute it. And the second thing, if you disable and delete, how the existing runs is gonna impact. So in terms of the existing run, delete will hold the existing runs. It will take much time if you have lot of records running at same time, but it will not allow any other like to create any other instance or to execute anything from the pipeline. But if you are disabling it, it will just wait. Suppose you uploaded 5,000 records in your environment and you have a trigger like a serious trigger on record create. It will execute all of 5,000 and then it will disable it. It will not stop in between. So this is somehow really important, and you need to be really focused on that one before choosing it. Okay. Next thing is the naming convention. So this is somehow what I felt is again one of the important thing, and I can just quickly show you something. So suppose let's open this one. Okay, just give me a second. Something like that. So if suppose your logic app don't contain only 5, 10, or 50 actions in most complex scenarios, or like especially with the enterprise stuff, it may contain more than hundreds also. And then it's really important if you just provide two important things here, like your name of any of your actions, like as listed here, it should be very crystal clear. So if someone is coming a new person is coming in the team, and even forget about them, even if you're coming after 1 week or 1 month to check that, with the name itself you should be able to know, okay, this is somehow what the logic app is, this action meant for. The next important thing, there is a limitation with the names. Like I think there's a 250 characters, you cannot put more than that. So there's a beautiful option available by the Azure Logic app itself. Like you can go and add the comments. So you can go and add the comments, and comments is kind of the documentation for your logic apps, which is really important. And if you ask for me, because if you have the comments, especially the scenarios where you have the like a large blocks, large for each or something, then it's really important, and we should really focus on that one. So all your logic app variables, actions, loops, everything need to be properly named it. Otherwise, there will be scenarios like you have a variable 1, variable 2, variable 3, or something like that, and you will not able to know that. The next thing, should we use the variable in a global or the local way? So the first thing I would like to emphasize here, you don't have a local variable in the logic app, like very unlikely like other languages. So, and this is somehow you need to be consider an example. An example in terms of the global variable. So you global variable means you can just declare the variable at a root level. Even you cannot declare in the if condition or even in the scope blocks. So you need to declare everything in the like variables at the root level. And that is somehow I don't know, because I don't understand, or probably I'm not good fan of that. Suppose if I'm using the 50 variables, then my logic app probably look much ugly, because then I have a 50 action listed here. So if at least I can declare the variables inside the scope, I can just combine this an example like this. So it would be more pretty and cleaner for me. So, but for now, you don't have this facility available, and you need to declare at the root level. So in short, you don't have a local variables. So whatever is available is a global variable, and you need to use very wisely. So if you're using the variable and if you need to reuse it again, maybe not kind of the static data, some dynamic data, please always reset it back to the like default values. The next is the benefit of the clone functionality. So as I told, like you have the clone option on that. So I would quickly go here and you will see the clone option there. So I will explain both clone and export. So clone is basically like if you clone it, you can just clone it within the same resource group. So you cannot go outside of your resource group, something like that. And while cloning, always remember you should always clone with the disable state, because the moment you will clone it, your all the connection will also get cloned. And suppose in that case, if the record is getting created for example, just say account entity, then your both of the logic app will run and both will perform the action what you wrote it there. So always start with the disable and then change the connections. Like example, when the best scenario is when we used to clone it. So I have created a logic app for the dev environment. Now I need to move to the test. So I'm not going to write it from the scratch. I will just clone it. And with the disable state, after that cloning, I will just go to the logic app, change the connection from dev to test, and then keep started using that one. So this is somehow important. There's an export button, but I would like to just probably use the export template. So export template, actually you can just use in the automation, like a CI/CD stuff or something like that. So you can export it. You can just write the script for that. You can go to the PowerShell Azure SL, like CLIs, and the best part is parameter. All the connection parameters are null, so you need to redefine when you will go to the, like, you export it to the new environment, because when you export it to the new environment and when you go to the designer view, you will see again the option for the sign in. So you need to re-authenticate, and then it will create a new authentication keys there. So export is really important. Like, you can download it, you can add to your libraries, or you can even deploy it. So anything you can do it from there. Timeout property is really important. Like, an example, I triggered the HTTP from my code, and in that case, it's somehow more important. Like, just let me just quickly go and see where the timeout, you can see it. So I have some time available and I can show you. Yes. So an example here. So I have one HTTP call, and what I'm gonna do in this particular HTTP calls, I'm just calling the Business Central APIs here. So you can just go there, and there's a setting option there, and there's an option for the timeout. You can go and explain the timeouts there. So they have some of the default limits. You can just go and check it. I think it's a 4 attempt till 90 second or something like that. I'm not very sure right now, but then you can actually define the timeout, and it's really important. Like, your call shouldn't be stuck, and if it is not getting response in between those, taking the response in those duration, then it should go with the error, which is perfectly fine. So you need to be very wise in that case. And the next important aspect is, like, we have the asynchronous and the synchronous request, and how we can do this. So I will go in the same example here. When you have then HTTP triggers, and here you can see you have the asynchronous patterns. So why it is important? Like, if it is just a fire and forget, like an example, you just push the data or you update the data, and you don't expect anything from the another REST APIs, like maybe Business Central REST APIs or something, maybe CRM APIs. You don't expect anything in the return. The best option is it should go in the asynchronous pattern. And but at the same time, if you are expecting that, okay, it should return something and you need to fetch the values, and it's more important when you are fetching those values in a loop, then you always need to go with the synchronous pattern. And in that case, there will be no parallel threading will execute. It will go in a sequential way. The concurrency control is again one of the important thing, which I think I should explain you. And there are a lot of common mistakes in that. An example, I have one switch case here, and I go to this one. So I have two examples here. In the first example, I have a concurrency control set here as a enable, and I just move the degree of parallelism as 1. By default, if you just enable it, it should be 20 or 25 by default. But then the downside, what you could say, the moment you will enable it, you can't disable it and use it, as per my knowledge, because there is always an entry in your code, and then maximum you can do, you can just set the default values there. So you can just move from 1 to 50, and it means that you can run this much of parallel thread concepts at the same time, like from 1 to 50 at in a more async pattern. The second one, in my example, I haven't used this, and it's by default. Sorry, not this one. So it is by default closed, and like that's what they gave the example. If you really need to iterate your for each loop in a more sequential manner, then you need to enable it and set the value to 1. So this is somehow important. How does it impact on that one? Just let quickly check that one. So suppose if I just open this one. So all of the tick one and the green one are the success. If you have something red or something like this, they are the failed. And if you have a cross with gray icon, it's a skipped one. So, or the canceled one, the more appropriate word. So an example, I just quickly move to my switch, case 200, and see the, so it iterated 8 times, and just see how the values is gonna, so it's an incremental value, it's always need to add one, but look how it's works. So first time it's one, second time it should two, and it will go in a more sequential way. But at the same time, if I just close this one and if I just see the concurrent example, if you can see the variable examples here, so it's 13, then 11, then 15, something like that, 9. So it will start from 9 to 16, but you cannot guarantee that which will execute, which thread will execute like first or something like that. So you need to be very cautious about when you are doing anything in a for loop, and you need to wait from the previous response, and you need to manipulate your logic, or you need to write your logic on the basis of your those responses. Then you definitely need to run in a most sequential manner. So this is for that one. The important aspect, and my favorite, is like any other languages, you need to go with the try catch blocks here. And how you can implement that, let's quickly check that. So it's pretty simple here in my view. So what you need to do, you just go with three scope blocks, and you will get a scope blocks. Like the moment you will try to add a new action, you will type the scope there and you will get a scope blocks, and push everything in your scope blocks. Like if you're thinking that okay, it may fail or something, you can just put in the scope block. So in a catch, if it got failed, what should happen? So you need to send an email to someone, or you need to log it somewhere, anything what you need it, you can just do it here. So example like, hey admin, this logic app is getting failed due to this reason, and this is probably the run ID or something. So then they can come directly and they can just check it, something like that. So you can do in the catch, and finally if need to be executed at all. So it's pretty simple there. What you can do, so I can show you in a design view how it's get implemented. Give me a second. So you need to go to the block, and there is an option for configure run after. So for try, definitely you don't need to do anything because it always need to be executed. What you need to do, you need to go to the catch blocks, and you just need to put a check here, has false. So if the previous step is getting failed, then only this need to be executed. And if it is not getting filled, then it's not going to execute it. You don't need to pay any charges to the Azure or the Microsoft, because it gets skipped and it will not metered it. And you will get an icon here. So if you will get this kind of icon, then always think there is an configuration run after is available. The last one is in a finally block. So in the same fashion, and when I need to execute finally, if the previous block is skipped or if the previous block is successful, in both of the case, because if it is not coming to the cache block, then also I need to execute my finally. And definitely if it is going to the cache, then for sure, in that case also I need to execute my finally block. So what you can do in the finally block, like suppose you can make some rollbacks here. Like if you are failing with the previous steps, suppose you have some intermediate data, you can roll back the remaining data from there. An example, or you can just trigger an email that okay, this data has been populated or something like that. So it's up to you that how you're gonna design it. So if you are working on the logic app, please work with the try catch blocks. Don't go without that one. Uh, the next important thing is there is no harm to save it. So if I make any changes, always click on the save icon. There would be a situation where you are working since long time. Maybe you started in the morning or maybe around lunch, and you just went home and come next day to the office. By the time the session of this browser or the Azure will be expired, and you need to refresh your window. And the moment you will refresh your window, you will lost all of your changes. So this is one point what you need to consider. The most important, which I like with the continuous saving. So if you write or implemented 2 or 3 actions, always save it. If there is any error in that one, it will not allow you to save, and you can fix it immediately. So it's not something like you worked for the whole day and in the evening you are saving it, and then you lost it, okay, because you made a lot of changes there. So very quickly, I just go, and how can I roll back? So you always have an option to go to the logic app, and I can just quickly finish this. There is an option for the versions. So you can go to your versions, and you have all the versions available. You can select any of the version, and then you can promote those versions. It's really important. Like if something is working till today and it will maybe probably not work tomorrow, you can always you know till what point it is working. You can check with the error log also. You can just promote that particular version from there. So it is the promote available for every version apart from the first one or the current one, I would say. Um, we should not use the preview feature for sure because Microsoft don't support the SLAs for the preview feature, and we should avoid that one. Definitely, if you are in the dev environment, you can use it, but if you are in like production or something, then you should not go with the preview. Um, so there is an no inbuilt data type conversion. You always need to be focused. So out of this six, if you are assigning it to the other values, you always need to cast it. The peak code is again one of the important aspect. What I like it. So an example, you're here.
Ambesh, while that is loading up, I just wanted to give you a quick time check.
Yeah,
So,
I'm already on the way. I know 2 minutes are left.
yep.
Okay, so quickly I will go to the edit. So I will show you the peak code configured run after I have already shown you. Um, child logic app, you can actually create it in the complex situation because there is a limit of every actions and everything, and you don't want to just mess up your the main logic app. You can go always with the modular functionality, like create one child kind of the main method and then call everything from there. So if you can see here, like I have an option for the peak code. Why it is important? I cannot make the changes here. It's look like editable, but I cannot make the changes. It's more important if I quickly, as a developer, I need to quickly check, okay, what is happening there. And if you need to just get some values, you just copy it from here and then you can use it somewhere else. So this is also important. Logs, for sure, it's important. You can just get the logs, like you can configure the logs here, and because of your monitoring and other purpose. And run high throughput, so you can go to the workflow setting. It's in the preview feature, so you can actually just go with this. It will give you the high like it will allow you to create more instances for any run, and it will give you the high responses for that. But please note that it's in the preview feature, so you need to consider. You can actually keep this retention history of your runs to custom, and by default it should be, I think, 1 week. So we cannot go below the 1 week, and maximum is the 90 days. So if you are in the dev, then I would not recommend to just go for more than 2 or maximum 1 month, because for storage definitely you need to pay for that one. So always think in those perspective. Advisor recommendation, always try to get the advisor recommendation. You can get it at the resource level, and it's provided by the Microsoft free of cost, so there is no harm for that one. There are some of the important like links there, so you can just I have just compiled the few links which is useful for the like for the learnings and the other stuff, and it's good to have those things. You can connect me on my social platforms. Ask the queries on the Twitter handle at ambesha19. Scan the code and connect me over the LinkedIn. Subscribe my YouTube channels for the slides and more demos on the Azure Dynamic 365 Power Platform technologies. And I'm also planning to launch a free of cost course for the Azure Logic apps for Power Platform, Azure Business Consultant, Citizen, and the Pro Developer soon. So stay tuned, and you will get the updated information on my social channels. I'm really thankful to all of you to spend your valuable time on Sunday afternoon and looking for your positive feedbacks and suggestions. So please fill out the survey by scanning the QR code here. And I think moderator will also post the URLs on the chat window. So I hope you find the session interesting and useful, at least to find a new dimension on your integration requirements. I would like to open the floor for questions and the discussion now quickly.
Thank you so much for the session, Ambesh. There's a bunch of questions, and I would really appreciate if you could